Hello, everyone. It's nice to have all of you here. My name is Emily Vanhoff. I am an artist and designer in Chicago, and I've been teaching these classes in partnership with Fiskars and Michaels every month this year. And today's class are these banners. I guess that's probably mirrored for you. You can choose your own phrase, and we will cut out all the letters and also make the banner that we are putting them on. I will be keeping an eye on the chat, so if you have any questions as we go, I can answer those. We also have Tia here from Fiskars, so if you have any questions specific to the tools that I'm using, she would be able to answer those. And then she also has a link to my blog that she'll put in the chat, which will have like a typed overview of the class in case you need a refresher on any of the steps. And then I will also be putting the link to the recording of the class there once it's available as well. Also in that blog post are a list of some ideas for phrases, just to give you some ideas to get started. I know whenever I'm like put on the spot to think of some words to do, I don't think of anything. So that list should maybe get your brain thinking about some phrases that could be fun for you. I think that's all the info we need to get started. If you want to flip to the overhead. We look at these samples I have first, just to get kind of an idea of some options that are available. So you can see like these letters are much thicker and chunkier. We've got these that are a little bit thinner, and I played around with the layout a little bit more. You can also think about like some little decorative elements that you can put on there. So those are some options. Get these out of the way. Let's see. I've got the felt that I'm using has an adhesive backing on it. And you can get these at Michaels. And the order we're going to do things in today is we're going to cut out the letters first and then make a banner to kind of fit the size of your phrase. You could also totally do it the other way around and make your banner first and then cut out the letters. I'm just doing it in this order for today. I think it's a little bit easier. So the phrase I'm going to be cutting out today is make stuff, because that seemed appropriate. And I'm going to do my letters in a couple of different styles, just so that we get a variety of ways to do this. So let me I'm going to cut a line that's about all the same width. And the way we're going to start is just cutting a rectangle for each of the letters. I want the letters for make to be kind of like short and wide. So I will cut out 4 pieces for those. And these do not have to be perfect. I think some of the charm of these banners is that they're kind of like hand cut and a little bit wonky. I really like that. So I'm just kind of eyeballing everything is totally fine. So this will be make, and then I'm going to put stuff underneath, and I want these letters to be kind of taller and skinnier. So this is a script for those. And yes, let me grab my samples. Someone's asking to see the samples again. Pull those out. That's a sample of the banner that we'll be doing. Okay, so we've got make, and then stuff is going to go underneath. And like I said, I'm going to do these kind of tall and skinny. Do one rectangle for each letter. All right, so I will start cutting these top letters. The way I'm doing this is kind of just visualizing like where the negative space of each letter is that needs to get removed from the rectangle in order to turn it into a letter. So this is our M. And you can certainly like pull up a font, like a kind of a blocky font on your computer to sort of remind you of what letters look like. Sometimes that is helpful. Like for example, on this one, I'm keeping the sort of tops of the letters flat instead of making them pointy, which is especially helpful because I'm making these like super kind of wide squat letters. And then when we have like a middle piece to cut out, I'm using these little like micro tip scissors from Fiskars, and they come in real handy when you've got tiny pieces to cut out, and just kind of fold it in half and get a cut started. And then you can go in and cut that triangle out. And these are like, the tips are very sharp, so you can get in there, and they're also like, they're sharp all of the way to the tip. Like I feel like some scissors don't cut well at the very tip, and these ones do a fantastic job. Okay, and then we got our K, which is like a little bit trickier. It's probably a good one to sort of reference a font for. Let's see. Put this somewhere and you can see, I'll move these down a little. So with the K, the bottom sort of leg actually comes off of the top leg here. That guy's looking pretty good. And as you go, if you cut one out that you don't like, you can always go back in and make a new one, recut them. I think it's probably smart to have a little bit more felt than you need. I am also a graphic designer, so I'm very accustomed to working with letters. But if you spend a little less time staring at them than I have, it might be helpful to do a couple practice ones. So things like the E, like this looks pretty crazy. We go in and cut the middle bar a little bit shorter, and then the top bar sort of halfway. It looks a little bit more normal. We'd sort of be paying attention to how thick our lines are so that it's even throughout the whole word, or vaguely close to even. I think a little bit of unevenness is fine in a handmade thing like this. But like, for example, I'm looking at this, it looks like maybe my E is a little thicker than the other one. So I might come in, give that a little bit more space. Maybe cut these just a little shorter. In S is also a bit of a tricky one. We're going to start by just curving all of the corners. And then you can kind of like visualize where the negative space of an S is within here. And I'll be making these a little bit narrower. So cut the top curve. This one is like the inside of the curve, and then it goes out to become the outside of the other curve. So that's half of an S. And we'll do the same thing with the other side. T is an easy one. Someone's asking if they could use a Cricut vinyl paper to stick onto the banners. I'm sure that would work. I've never used a Cricut, so I definitely can't help you in that department, but I think that would probably work. All right. Let's begin. U, we'll curve the bottom first, and then cut out the middle. Again, these scissors are super handy for getting into like the real small little spots. The F is very similar to the E. Again, cutting that middle crossbar a little bit shorter. This guy looks real wonky. We'll clean up some of those corners. All right. All right, so I got all my letters cut out. At this point, you can kind of take a look, see if there's any of them that are looking a little bit out of place. You could also come back in, maybe grab another color, and make some like little decorative pieces. And then you can kind of play with the way that your words are laid out if you want. Put some like little, you know, decorative guys in the middle or something. Let's see. Do something like that. You could also sort of play with the spacing between your letters if you want. You can make this guy like real tight here in the middle. Maybe spread these ones out a little bit farther. Add something to either side. These are lots of options here you can play with. I think I'm gonna sort of just stick with just my letters. But once you get a layout that you're happy with, we're going to take our ruler and measure it, see where we're at. It looks like this is about 12 inches that way and about 8 inches that way. We're going to add 10 inches to each of those measurements. So the 12 will become 22 and the 8 will become 18. And that's the size that we're going to cut our canvas out at. So I'm going to get these letters out of the way for the moment. Put those off to the side. And we'll move on to making our banner. So I've got my canvas. We'll see if I can see this a little bit better. All right, so it will be 22 inches this way. I'm going to line up my canvas with my grid here. See where 22 inches falls. Looks like I'm just off the screen here. I'll cut that quickly and you'll be able to see when I cut the shorter edge. So just lining my ruler up. Well, maybe I can get this in here yet. There we go. All right, so it was 12 inches, adding 10 inches, cutting that at 22, using my handy rotary cutter and my ruler. Fantastic for cutting straight lines easily. And then this way, I believe it was 8 inches. So if we add 10 inches to that, that is at 18. Line my ruler up at 18 here, match it to 18 on the top side. Yes, we have Laszlo, my cat, joining us here. Let's see if he behaves himself. Okay, so next step is to form the border. I'll pull up my, we've got like a pretty thick border going on here, which I really like the look of. So to form that, the first step is going to be, this looks like it's not quite square. Let me just square it up using my grid here. I'm not sure what I did there. Let's see. It's definitely helpful if your canvas is perfectly square. So if it didn't get quite right the first time around, go back and correct that. Double check. All right, that side is looking pretty square. Okay. So the next step is to fold each side in 2.5 inches. So I have this lined up here with my grid. I'm going to fold it down 2.5 inches. So we're going to make sure it meets the dotted line in the middle here. Well, it will be 2.5 inches. And then I'm just kind of finger pressing it to hold it all in place, or kind of like give it a light crease, which I will be able to iron later. Flip it over and do the same thing on this side. Again, that will be like 2.5 inches. Give it a good finger press. Make sure my iron's heating up here. And we'll do that with the short sides as well. Line it up to the grid. Fold it over 2.5 inches. The canvas holds just a finger press pretty well. All right, once we've done all of the sides, you can take it over to your iron and get them like extra well creased. Someone is asking where to get canvas. Yes, Michaels does sell canvas. This is, I believe, the there's a link to the exact one that I'm using, both on my blog and in the Michaels class listing. But I believe it's the 12 ounce, just like natural unbleached canvas. All right, ironing all of these sides down. And then the next step is going to be to trim some of our corners off. To do that, I'm going to take a pencil and mark just a little dot at the spot where these two creases are intersecting, just so it's easier to see. And then I'm going to take this ruler and line up. We want the 1/2 inch mark. Let's see if I can get this a little closer. Okay, so this 1/2 inch line on my ruler, I'm going to line that up on top of the dot that I made, and also line up. This ruler has a 45-degree angle mark across right here. So I'm going to line up that along the top edge of the canvas, while also lining up this 1/2 inch mark. And then I'll cut off that corner. So we've got just a 1/2 inch here between our pencil mark and the edge of the fabric. We'll do that for all 4 corners. Mark the intersection. Line my ruler up. The 45-degree line is here, and this is at a 1/2 inch. And slice that off. As we're going, if anyone wants to share the phrase that you're using, feel free to put those in the chat. Curious to know what everyone's planning on making. Right, last corner here. There we go. So now all of your corners should be sliced off just to the outside of the intersection of your folds. And the next step is to fold. We're going to fold all of the edges down a 1/2 inch. And again, we can use the grid on our cutting mat. We've got the dotted, we have solid lines at every inch, and then the dotted lines for every 1/4 inch. So line it up with a solid line and then fold it down 2 of the dotted lines. And do each of the long edges first, and then we'll go back in and do our corners as well. And the neater that you are with these, all of these folds here, the better your corners are going to match up once we fold it all in. So it's helpful to be kind of precise. Okay, so I've got all those, just going to give them an extra good press. All right, and then we'll go back in and do the same thing for our angled corners. Line that up with a solid line and then fold it down 1/2 inch. And this crease should fall right where where these two lines intersect, right at the dot that you made earlier. Finger pressing those. Someone is asking about felt choices. If you don't use the adhesive felt, you could definitely use regular felt and then just pin your letters in place. And I think it would be cute to do just like a thick embroidery stitch just right through the middle of all your letters. And definitely, you could definitely do that with the adhesive ones too, just as a decorative element. Otherwise, I'm sure you could just glue it as well. I think like a tacky glue would probably work well also. Great, so I got all those folded in. I'm going to reinforce those with my iron. All right, now that we've got everything ironed, your corners should be folded in 1/2 inch, and then we're gonna make sure the side stays folded in 1/2 inch, and then fold it again on that first fold line that we made. And that will give us a nice clean corner there. I'm going to throw a couple pins in just to sort of hold it in place slightly. So again, corner 1/2 inch folded in first, the long side is folded in 1/2 inch second, and then on that first 2.5 inch fold line that you made. Same thing with the other side of the fold. If all your measurements were accurate, they should line up very nicely at the corners here. I'll put a pin in the middle of the long sides too, just so nothing shifts around. And again, one more corner to go. Okay. Once you've got all of that pinned in place, we're going to stitch just right around the inside edge of this border here. And you can pivot at each corner and just go all the way around in one shot. We can show you on this one what that looks like. Used a different color thread on here, which is kind of a nice detail. You can see I'm just about like 1/8 of an inch from the edge there. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Pull my sewing machine in here quickly. Probably a good idea to have a sharp needle in since you're going through quite a few layers, or just a new needle rather. This one sounds like it might be a good go. And then, like I said, once you get to the corner, just leave your needle in, pivot around, and go down the next side. Sort of pay attention to the way that your corners are laying as you go to, and make sure that nothing has sort of shifted around. Everything is still in the right place. Okay, so we should have a nice banner with some clean corners at this point. Where did I put my scissors? Throwing things on the ground, apparently. Okay, so we've got the banner. Next step is to put the grommets in. And our grommet placement is going to be, I can pull this down again. We're going to go 1 inch in from the corner on both sides. So I'm going to take my pencil and mark that for diagonally across there. Hold this a little bit closer. So this goes 1 inch from either edge, and then I'm marking just at the corner. And we'll do that on all of the corners, and then we're going to come back in with our handy dandy, very sharp little scissors. And we're going to cut, let me grab my grommets here a second. So these are the grommets that I'm using, and we want to cut a hole big enough for this side that has a bump, big enough for that bump piece to fit through the hole. So I kind of cut diagonally on my pencil mark in both directions, and then kind of come back in and cut this top layer first, kind of just cutting like a little square out of here. That's the top layer, and then we're going to do this bottom layer as well, so it's a hole all the way through. And this is where a very sharp scissors comes in very handy. There are also like punch tools that you can do this with. It's like an extra thing that you need though, and your scissors will do just fine. All right, so once you get a hole all the way through, kind of test to see if your grommet will fit, which that's looking great. You can see the bump part is coming all the way through, and it's like snug around the hole, but not too tight. And then you can follow the instructions on your grommet package as to how exactly to assemble these things, but they're all generally the same. Usually there's some sort of washer to put on the bottom. It has a little spot for that side of the grommet to rest in. You add the flat piece to the top. And then this has like a tapered point that goes into there. And then you just hammer it to kind of fold over that bump side of the grommet. Sorry if this is loud. I'm not sure how that will sound on video. You want to kind of test, see if it's tight. If it's not tight yet, keep hammering a little bit more. Right, that is feeling pretty good. I am only going to do this one grommet because that is annoying on camera. But that's how we're looking. That's on the front. That's the back. It's a nice clean hole. You can hang it from there. You could do just 2 at the top, 2 corners, or like I did on the other, I did it on all 4 corners, which I think is just, it's kind of a nice look. So once you have those grommets in, you can go ahead, pull your letters back out and rearrange those the way that you had them. If you're making your banner first and cutting your letters second, at this point you can kind of start cutting your letters to fit within that space. But that looks like a pretty good layout. So I'm just gonna kind of take the letters one by one and peel the backing off and stick them in place. And kind of pay attention to make sure you're keeping them in a straight line, that they're all kind of resting on an even baseline. And they are kind of a little bit repositionable. So if you want to move it just a little bit, they will come off. These thinner ones are probably a little bit trickier. Make sure you're like maintaining the shape and not sort of distorting them as you press them down. They're very sticky and adhesive gets on your fingers a bit, but it's not that. Someone's asking if the banner can be washed. I definitely don't think I would do that. I'm not sure how the adhesive would hold up in the wash. I have a feeling it would just like fall off and you would get a big ball of adhesive letters stuck in your washing machine. And I actually don't love washing the canvas itself. It gets a little bit wrinkly in the wash. And someone else is asking about how we cut the letters out. Yes, I did that sort of freehand. I like how it ends up a little bit wonky and uneven. I think that's a fun bit of character. Yeah, so that is pretty much everything. At this point, like I mentioned earlier, you could go in and add some like hand stitch details if you wanted. There's kind of a lot of ways you could embellish it if you like. Otherwise, it is ready to hang on your wall. You want to flip the camera back around. You can, yeah, as you guys finish your pieces, if you want to tag both myself, I'm on Instagram as Emily Vanhoff, and you can tag Fiskars and use the hashtag Make It With Michaels. That way we can all see what you made. That would be fun. The next class is going to be, it's in October, so we kept it Halloween themed. This is like a little bit hard to see against my black walls, but we got some bats here on this headband. A cute little bat crown. Yeah, that's hard to see on my walls, but it's very cute. There should be a picture on that post as well. I would love to see you here next week or next month. We can celebrate Halloween, make some cool costumes. Does anyone have any questions they want to throw in the chat before we go? It's not looking like there's any more questions. So thanks for coming today, everybody. Again, would love to see what you make. I think there's lots of fun ways to use these banners. So have fun making things, have a great evening, and hopefully we'll see you next month.